Trump's attack on Iran is an unconditional surrender to Israel. Sidelining US Intelligence, Trump and top principals rely on Israeli fabrications to bomb Iran. By Maté. Since his election in 2016, Donald Trump's political opponents have portrayed him as a dangerous, unstable fabulist, doing the bidding of a malign, nuclear-armed foreign power. Having returned to the White House this year, Trump is proving his detractors correct on all counts but one, the location on the map. The rogue state that he's colluding with, at great peril to the planet, is not Russia, as his most vocal detractors alleged, but Israel. Israel's June the 13th attack on Iran sabotaged the then ongoing talks on a new nuclear deal with the United States, and Trump has gone to unprecedented lengths to support its aggression. Trump undercut his own Secretary of State's claim that Israel had undertaken unilateral action by acknowledging that we knew everything in advance of what he called a very successful attack. Administration officials then disclosed that Trump had previously authorized giving Israel intelligence support for the bombing. Trump then called on Tehran's 9.8 million residents to evacuate, mused about killing Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and declared that we, meaning Israel, have complete and total control of the skies over Iran. After Iran rejected his demand for unconditional surrender, Trump imposed a new deadline of 2 weeks, only to break it 3 days later by ordering a US military attack on 3 Iranian nuclear energy sites, including the deeply buried mountain complex Fordo, which he quickly hailed as a great success. Just as with Trump's diplomacy with Iran, his 2-week deadline turns out to have been a ruse, whose goal was to create a situation when everybody wasn't expecting it, so said a senior administration official. To wage war on Iran, Trump and his allies have employed the traditional Iraq WMD playbook of ignoring or manipulating the available evidence to fearmonger about a foreign state marked for regime change. Unlike the Iraq War, where the fraudulent case for invading was mostly concocted in-house, Trump has outsourced the job to Israel, while not even pretending to care about public opinion or congressional approval. Back in March, the US intelligence community assessed that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon and has not reauthorized the nuclear weapons program suspended in 2003. According to US officials who spoke to the New York Times, that assessment has not changed. Moreover, the US has found that not only was Iran not actively pursuing a nuclear weapon, it was also up to 3 years away from being able to produce and deliver one, CNN reports, citing 4 sources. Whereas Dick Cheney and company went through the trouble of nudging subordinates to fabricate intelligence, including via torture, Trump doesn't care about seeking their imprimatur. My intelligence community is wrong, Trump told reporters on Friday. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt insisted that Iran has all that it needs to achieve a nuclear weapon, and if authorized by Ayatollah Khamenei, it would take a couple of weeks to complete the production of that weapon. In White House meetings, CIA Chief John Ratcliffe has argued that Iran is close to a nuclear bomb and that claiming otherwise would be similar to saying football players who have fought their way to the 1-yard line don't want to score a touchdown, according to one US official who spoke to CBS News. After the Iraq War, a slam-dunk basketball analogy is no longer available. If Trump's intelligence community is wrong, who does he think is right? As US officials told the New York Times, the claims from Trump and his circle echoed material provided by Mossad, Israel's intelligence agency. And whereas some in the government, undoubtedly those close to Trump, find the Israeli estimate credible, others believe that Israeli assessments have been coloured by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's desire to gain American support for his military campaign against Iran. Moreover, according to multiple officials, none of the new assessments on the timeline to get a bomb are based on newly collected intelligence, but instead on new analysis of existing work. In other words, Trump is sidelining his own intelligence community to trust a new analysis that is based on no new information, just the manipulation of a foreign government. Trump's disdain for his own agencies is a particular slight to intelligence chief Tulsi Gabbard. "I don't care what she said," Trump said this week, referring to Gabbard's presentation of the US intelligence consensus on Iran in March. "I think that Iran were very close to having it." Rather than defend the agencies she oversees and the record she earned challenging previous US-driven regime change deceptions, Gabbard has bent the knee to Trump and Israel by extension. In a social media post, Tulsi Gabbard chided the dishonest media for taking her March testimony out of context. The US, Gabbard now claimed, has intelligence that Iran is at the point that it can produce a nuclear weapon within weeks to months if they decide to finalize the assembly. Gabbard also shared video of that March testimony without addressing the contradictory fact that it does not include any mention of a newfound claim that Iran has the capability to produce a nuclear bomb within weeks to months. Gabbard is engaging in disingenuous wordplay. If Israel tells America that Iran can produce a nuclear weapon within weeks, then yes, American intelligence now has that intelligence. That doesn't mean that it's true or that American intelligence believes it, which it does not. A US official familiar with the available record in Iran tells me, Aaron Maté, that there is no US intelligence assessment concluding that Iran is weeks away from building a nuclear weapon. Gabbard is only saying, therefore, that the US intelligence community has received intelligence from Israel without mentioning that the IC does not actually endorse it. Moreover, pretend for a moment that the Israeli claim is correct. Gabbard's caveat of, if they decide to finalize, is an acknowledgement that Iran has not decided to build a nuclear weapon. That's because Iran has said that it does not want one and is willing to commit to that in a binding agreement. The one they were negotiating with the US until Trump and Israel sabotaged it, and not for the first time. In fact, as US intelligence officials have also predicted, Trump's bombing now increases the likelihood that Iran will pursue the nuclear bomb that it has long forsworn. Iran claims to have moved enriched uranium stockpiles prior to the US bombing, which preserves its capacity to weaponize. Trump and Israel insisted, in the president's words, on unconditional surrender, capitulation to maximalist US-Israeli demands that Iran end its uranium enrichment program, which it is entitled to have under the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and that it limit its arsenal of missiles. In other words, Trump and Netanyahu demanded that Iran agree to abandon its sovereignty and right to self-defense, just as it is under attack from US-backed Israeli aggression, and all while US-backed Israeli mass murder in Gaza and the annexation of the West Bank continues unimpeded. Iranian officials did not surrender. Trump, by contrast, cannot say the same. By enabling its bombing campaign, parroting its deceptions, and now going to war against Iran on its behalf, Trump has already offered an unconditional surrender to Israel, a betrayal that grows more dangerous by the day.